Well, hey everyone, my name is Nathan Jones, and if you're new here, welcome. I like to talk about all things movies, specifically Blu-rays, and I have a very special guest with me today. It's my friend Steph.
Hi. Trouble in the house.
It's definitely trouble in the house. I was going to say,
Trouble in the closet.
I've been trouble.
I'm in the closet with you.
Oh man. Well, I always try to push Steph away as much as possible, but she's like, let's just do this. It makes
I
sense.
just keep coming back.
Yeah, I guess so.
You know what
But
they say, Nathan? You can't get rid of a bad penny.
exactly. Exactly.
I am your penny.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say for people who are not familiar, Steph the channel Movie Chatter and is one of my oldest friends on the platform. Just have been around for a bit for, both, our careers on this thing,
Yeah.
which is wild
Yeah.
to think about.
Yeah. That's why we're both in debt.
Is exactly why we're in debt. And
Yeah.
hopefully everyone who's watching this is also in
Yeah.
this.
We hope you're all in debt.
We're hoping you're all in debt.
May
And
debt find everyone.
may debt find you wherever you are.
Yes.
Our nice little hobby has definitely caused us a little bit of grief, but
Mm-hmm.
speaking of horror today, we're going to be covering a really fun box set that I just delved into for the first time, which I feel like what is it like? Am I like 5 years too late? When did this come out? Do you remember?
Uh like 80, no. What was it? 80. 1980 was the first one. So
Oh well,
were
yeah,
you
but I
even
mean like
born?
this the box set like
Oh,
itself.
the box set.
Yeah, yeah.
It
Like
was it was pre-COVID, so probably 2019
yeah, so
or
like
early 2020, maybe September 2020.
about 4 years ago probably is when this
It's
came
been
out.
a bit.
But we're talking about this box set right here, the Friday the 13th box set from Shout Factory, Scream Factory. Yeah. So I was gonna say, I brought this up, and the reason I brought this up is because it's summertime. It's hot as shit outside. It reminds me of summer camp, and then also I just know that my friend from New Jersey, we had to talk about, one of the besides the New Jersey Devil, probably the most famous monster from the state, right?
I would say, yeah, besides the Jersey Devil, yeah, Jason.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I know you're a really big fan of Friday the 13th. And how long is
I
that
am.
when did that all start for you? Like when did you first encounter it?
As soon as it came out. I
1980.
was opening night in the theater, 1980. Yep.
And how
Went
was
there.
that experience?
It was awesome. It was awesome. The hardest part for me was finding people that would actually go with me because it was so hyped up, and it was the first horror movie I actually saw in the theater besides Jaws. When I went with I don't consider Jaws a horror movie so much. It
It
kind
walks
of
the line.
is.
It walks
It
the line.
was it was then. Um but the first one I ever saw on my own just with friends was a movie called Silent Scream. Have you ever heard of it?
Mm.
It's actually pretty good. It's actually I rewatched it again not long ago, and now I have a really nice release. I think from Severin. It might be from Severin, but it really did hold up. So Silent Scream was the first one I saw. We also used to spend a lot of time stealing my friend's older sister's copy of Cronenberg's The Brood.
Mm. Mm.
So I was obsessed with horror from the like way before I should have been. So I don't know what that says about me, but
Well, we know.
we in the closet know. So
We in the closet, yeah.
the closet knows.
However many numbers there are of it in here.
Yeah,
So
everyone in there knows.
yeah.
So like this was such a cool thing to see this. And of course he starts out as Sackhead Jason. He's not, well,
Yeah.
actually,
We're moving. I was gonna say we're moving along. I was gonna say
yeah,
that's the second part, right? So first
yeah.
that
Speaking
was
of, that's the shirt I
I
have
brought,
on.
yeah. I was gonna say I don't have any cool merch with me. I just have my Halloween 3 mask over there, which is the wrong franchise, but I love this
Yeah,
cover so much. Like holy,
yeah,
like
yeah,
what an incredible cover for like such a fun movie. Like, and you can tell that like this is definitely like one of the campier versions, which is weird to say because like obviously it's all campy, but
yeah.
like I don't know. Like for me, it's like I first watched this at a dollar theater here in town.
Okay.
It was kind of like the end of the 2000s is when I saw it for the first time. So, I mean, at the time, I was not into horror movies as much, like, or at least the horror movies that I would get into like this wasn't really as present.
Right.
It was more like Jeepers Creepers. I would even say things like I Am Legend, which is kind of like a horror movie, but kind of not.
Right.
Things like that. I mean, these slashers, the B movies were not something that I was into. So
Right.
so I remember going to that dollar theater and being like, what did I just watch with a bunch of friends? And I didn't really get it. So it took me a while. I don't know.
You didn't get it, or you didn't get the story, or it didn't resonate with you. It didn't click.
It didn't click. I don't think it clicked.
Okay.
Yeah, because I definitely got it. But I think at the
Right.
time, I think I was just developing my music, my movie taste. And
Right.
I think at that time I was definitely transitioning away from like I was watching blockbuster movies
Right.
or superhero movies at the time. And then eventually, in the kind of, mid to early 2010s, I would go back into like, the Criterion stuff, or like I would start developing that taste. And I finally eased up, and I'm not a member of the Dirty Dancing crew, where I'm not one of the townspeople who doesn't have any fun. And so now I'm just like, yeah,
Yeah.
throw it all at me. I'm totally down for all of this.
Yeah.
And it took me a while, and here we are this summer. I finally watched them all. So
I remember you didn't care for Bedeviled. That was too much for you.
yeah,
The South Korean movie when
mhm.
she's on the island. Yeah, you didn't like that.
I
That's
did and
it.
I didn't. Like it was a little bit of,
Right.
but like it wasn't my cup of tea. I probably would watch it now. Uh,
Right. That's what I'm saying. You changed.
yeah, which wasn't that long ago, honestly, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but yeah. Well, it was a few years ago, and you were like, you gave it a chance, and you just said it's not really for me, and that's cool. I mean, you were open minded enough to sit through it, watch it, but something about it didn't click. But maybe now that you're kind of jumping in a little more, and you're watching more things and other things maybe that didn't catch your interest then, maybe are catching your attention now.
yeah,
I mean, you were interested enough in Friday the 13th to buy that set, because I can't see anyone who doesn't have some level of interest investing in that set.
yeah,
It's not something that you just say, "Oh, well, it's $20, and if I don't like it, I don't like it."
yeah. It's
It's an
definitely not 20
investment.
bucks.
And it's a beautiful set. They did
Oh
such a
yeah,
nice job. The artwork is insanely good.
yeah. This is a gorgeous set. If anyone has it, I'm pretty
Beautiful.
sure it's fairly, I
Still
think,
out there.
still out there. It's like $70 to $90 usually.
Yeah.
Maybe 70 to like 120. That I think I got this like on sale for like 75, $80 or something like that. So I think
That's
that's
a
when I
good
pulled the
price.
trigger. So, which is a great deal, but like even
Hmm.
$100 is pretty good for like what, 13 movies,
Oh yeah.
or not 12 movies and a bonus disc.
Yeah.
There's not
Yeah.
13 yet,
Yeah.
which is weird because I feel like they're waiting for the 13th movie.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hopefully they'll do better than they've been doing in the later
Sure.
part of the we'll get to that though.
Yeah. Well, I want to go back in time with what you were saying in 1980. I was going to say you were kind of transitioning there to the second film, which was that a year later when that came out?
Um Now remember how old I am, Nathan, and I can't see
It
anything.
was
Yeah,
1981.
1981.
81. Yeah, part two
81.
right here came out.
Yeah,
That's
because
where the sackhead Jason came from.
right. Yeah. So I was and I don't want to say anything for the first one, because on the
Yeah.
off chance that we have new to horror people here who are
Hmm.
maybe checking this out because they think they might be ready to take the plunge. We don't want to do spoilers so much, even though, I mean, we're talking from 1980. It's still,
It's still a really good thing to like be
yeah.
surprised by. Like, I
I mean,
mean,
look at us. We're going back and watching things from 1920, 1918.
yeah. I
So,
mean,
really, you always have new viewers. So I thought the first one had such a unique, it was just a unique experience that I had never had before. Like it's just all there, the woods and the little cabins and the camp counselors and everything that you would
Kevin
expect
Bacon,
from Kevin Bacon. Yes, everything the lake. I mean, the
yeah,
lake is
Crystal
just
Lake.
the Crystal Lake. And then, of course, there's a thunder shower and the lake is crazy. And it's just, it had such atmosphere. Like the camp is actually to me like a character. The setting.
Oh yeah.
itself as like a character. And I mean, that iconic yellow sign, and it just everything from beginning to end. I remember just being such a tense experience. And even now, when I go back and watch it, I mean, I can watch that movie, the first few, I can watch them anytime. And I still get that feeling like a little bit of anxiety, even though I know exactly what's going to happen and I know every line in it pretty much. I still feel anxious when I'm watching it. I'm like, ooh, it still gets me.
Yeah. I mean,
I
that's
think it holds up.
it does. I mean, like, and casting aside my my late 2000s self, where I was definitely not into it. Obviously, watching it from like a modern perspective, especially if you haven't seen it for like, the first time.
Right.
If you go into it, I feel like open-minded and just like, like, well, what's going to happen next?
Yeah.
It's pretty twist and turny. Like, and there's a lot of really great kills in here. Like in for the budget
Yep.
that they had in the first movie, like
Oh,
they did a
yeah.
really great job of using practical effects and just thinking of different creative ways. I mean, we're going to talk about that sure
Yeah.
throughout the entire
Yeah.
filmography of this, but
Yeah.
I think it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. And they just, I think, I still think it's the best one in the franchise, the first one. That is my personal favorite. And I think out of all of them, I just think that one just nailed it from beginning to end. There wasn't a bad part in it. Where, as you go down the road and as you go down the filmography, you can find things that you maybe are like, all right, come on, this is too much, it's corny, or, but like that one, it's just, I don't know, it just maintained that level of anxiety and fear and darkness and creepy and just through the whole thing, like you're in it from beginning to end
Yeah,
to the final shot, you know,
to the final shot,
to
indeed.
the final shot.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was going to say, obviously, for the people who haven't seen it, definitely check that one out if you have. If you have seen it, you know exactly what it is, and it's one of the most
Yeah.
iconic moments in the whole franchise.
Yeah.
But going to the second movie, like you were saying, this was, the Jason character that like
Yep.
we would,
Sackhead.
yep, just a big brawly guy with a potato sack for a head.
And one eye stick. He's got, now I brought the cheater set because this I don't know why, but Paramount released this, I want to say less than a year after the big box set came out, and it's just an 8 movie collection. I call this my travel set. Like if I'm going somewhere and I
Yeah.
don't want to bring the box, I just
Like,
bring,
can I put this in my pocket? I don't
yeah,
know.
no. So I just bring this. And I have to say, the transfers look pretty good, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's great if somebody doesn't want to invest or in the big box set. I mean, something like this is perfect, but you have Sackhead here and he only shows one
Just one
eye.
eye. Yep.
And personally, I know everybody loves the hockey mask. I mean, I have a hockey mask sitting behind me in every video I have since I started pretty much. Um I still like I think Sackhead Jason could have worked through the whole thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. I was gonna say that was. I mean, I know you had mentioned it in the beginning of the like talking about the first movie, but like I
Yeah.
felt like the most tension from the second. Like that was the most for me. I feel like they amped it up a little bit. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like they had a little bit of more of a budget. They kind of had a little bit more of an idea of what they kind of wanted to go, and I don't know, like a lot of the kills felt a lot more brutal in terms of
Mm-hmm.
like just shock, I guess is what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah.
And I really like this iteration of Jason quite a bit.
Yeah.
So
I think that the whole, like you said, the whole appearance of him, the whole look of the character, I think that was probably my favorite looking Jason. And I kind of wish, I mean, I know he became known for the hockey mask. He's still known for the hockey mask. I personally would have preferred the sack the whole way through
that's fair.
because I
I
think I think it's just so terrifying. It reminds me of The Strangers.
yeah, yeah. I was
And
gonna
how
say
terrifying is that? Like you open the door and that guy is standing there at your door.
these guys.
Yeah, yeah, the guy with the sack on his head. I mean, how
I
terrifying is
said
that?
inside right next to me.
Of course it is. You can't go too far from that. So we're in agreement that Sackhead Jason is probably our favorite Jason.
Yeah, I was going to say, and I know that might be controversial for people because I know a lot of people might, prefer obviously the iconic mask, but I don't know. As somebody who's coming at it for like the whole thing as a like first time for real, like
Right.
because I don't think I had mentioned, but I have seen the first and second, and then I've seen six before
Okay.
I even jumped into any of this. So I mean,
Okay.
I've known about Jason for a long time, but I hadn't watched, any of these films like seriously per se. Like six was like the first time I wanted to say like I was like I know exactly what I'm getting into, and I was blown away because we'll get there, but like six is a really good one. It's
Yeah.
one of my favorites. But yeah. But anyway, we're going back to the second, right? The Sackhead Jason.
Yeah, Sackhead Jason. And yeah, I just like I don't I mean, I don't understand why that had to go away, but then again, I'm not making the movie. So, but I would have gone with the unpopular opinion, and I would have just left him with the sack on his head all through the whole franchise,
Yeah.
because I think that's absolutely terrifying.
Do you remember watching that one in theaters?
Yep,
Yeah.
that one. Yep, yep. I've seen the first five maybe in theaters,
Okay. Any of them
five or
stand out?
six. I'm
Like
sorry.
any of them stand out in particular?
Well, I mean, the first one was like it was insane. I had never seen anything like it. It was just so original and so different, and it like poked at every fear I had about like, well, where I live. There's a lot of where I grew up. There's a lot of woods and a lot of it was a lot of just untouched land, like, but it was all trees. So there were a lot of lakes and a lot of parks and a lot of places that could be very, very scary at night. And it just hit every single one of those. So for me, the first one will always be the standout
Yeah.
just because of that. I don't know. It hit every nerve.
Yeah, I was gonna say I know you had mentioned it earlier but the environment, like I know that played a big role, like especially with your love of it, because I mean, obviously you're right there, and then in like and
Yeah.
like you're in the same like area ish, uh,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's gotta be a little scary.
They do tours at certain times of the year,
Yeah,
like the summerish months. They're expensive.
really,
It's seriously, I looked into it, and they've had different people from the franchise there at different times.
sure,
I don't know who the big I don't think they ever had Kane Hodder there, but like a lot of like the counselors and things would be there.
yeah,
Maybe there may have been one or two final girls that were there, but it's like $100 a person, and you're just walking around like this
tiny,
campground.
yeah,
It's a
yeah,
lake, and you can get water from the lake, and you can put it in a Camp Crystal Lake bottle. I mean, it's a cool thing, but a little cost prohibitive if you look at it. I mean, they have the cabins. You can see, like, they show you what cabin you were in when what scene happened, which is cool. But
yeah,
that's a lot to go look at some empty cabins in a lake.
yeah. I'd have to be a super fan to do that,
I
myself.
think, and I think last summer, if I'm not mistaken, last summer was the last tour season that they were going to have the original sign.
Oh,
They retired the sign, and I don't know if it's that they couldn't keep it up, or it was, maybe weather damage. I don't know.
hmm.
I would assume it was made from wood, so maybe it just was too far
Fall,
gone, and they wanted
falling
to.
apart. Yeah,
Well, maybe they wanted to like memorialize it before they couldn't,
sure.
because it's an iconic piece of horror, you know, what do you call it, set design.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I
But
mean,
that was the last, so that was a big selling point for the tours. They're like, it's the last chance to see the original sign and get your picture with it. And I don't know what they have up there now. I haven't checked this season, but yeah, you can go on tours, and there have been a few YouTubers that did do the tour, and they made videos of it. It was okay, but I think I'd pay that money, $100 a person. That's a
You'd ra-
lot.
you'd rather be killed by Jason, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you pay Kane Hodder $30 to sign your picture, he'll choke you. He'll
Yeah.
choke you for $30. I mean, I'd rather be choked out, but for $30.
Well, I mean, I was gonna say, this guy right behind me, you can barely see it, but Doug Jones,
Yeah.
he, I almost tried to, choke him because he stole my pipe because I
He
was,
took your hat too, didn't
yeah, he
he?
took my hat and
Yeah.
my pipe when I was doing my Willem Dafoe impersonation.
Damn him.
I
Damn
know,
him.
damn that. Yeah, I was gonna say, I can't say that because he's the nicest person I've ever met. So,
I'll tell you, that is one of the greatest things when you go to the conventions. I find that the horror actors, the talent they call them at the conventions, they're so nice and they're so fan friendly for the most part. I mean, I guess every once in a while you'll get probably a bigger one that's not as friendly,
yeah.
but the ones that are just kind of roaming around on the main floors, I have always found them, like the Saska sisters were so sweet, hugging everybody and running through the line and so nice and took time with everybody. Kane Hodder was awesome. He was so nice to me. I was the first one in line, fangirling out. I'm
Hmm.
like, oh my God, I waited so long to meet you. I'm like, I'm in the glow of love. Sorry, Nathan.
There, you're good.
Sorry. I cheated a little, but he was so nice and just, he's my favorite Jason and he's in we're going to talk about it.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. I was gonna say, well, we should cover more interactions with Kane and whatnot in a bit.
Yeah.
But I do want to move to the speaking. You said iconic. Now we're moving to 3D. So,
Yeah. And
which
I hate 3D.
really you don't like this one?
Did you? Oh no, I like the movie. I don't
Okay,
like
you don't
3D.
like the you
3D
don't
makes
like
me
the.
sick.
Gotcha. I hear
I
you.
don't like
It's like
3D,
like this is one of my favorite movies of the
I
bunch.
think that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think this might be my favorite.
Really? Okay.
it's this, and we'll get to six, obviously.
Right.
And then I would say two, and then one.
Okay.
Probably go that order for me. But yeah, three. I don't know. Like obviously you have the iconic mask, of course, where we
Right.
first dawn of the. But I just really like the kills, and I do think they got because of the 3D. Weirdly enough, I think they got really creative with it, and I think they did a really good job of like maybe using like miniatures and things that
Mm-hmm.
would like play with the camera tricks and stuff. And I just had a good time with it. I really love when Jason had a crossbow and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
yeah, there's just some pretty great, and like when eyes popped out like in 3D and whatnot. I don't know. I really like this one, but what do you think of three?
Um, I liked I liked it.
Okay.
I found some of the characters got on my nerves, especially well, you know what? But he was supposed to get on your nerves.
Right.
The
So you can kill him.
where the mask comes from.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. That guy. Yep.
Yeah, drove me nuts. I was like, thank you, just take him out.
Well,
Because sometimes,
we're not to the
sometimes
most annoying
people.
people yet.
I know that's true, but sometimes you will get, sometimes I'll find myself like, oh, I wanted that one to hang around and be in the end, But with that one, I was like, oh, good, it just
Get
clear
him
the
out.
screen, get
Get
him
him
out
out
of
of
here.
here.
We could do what we could do better things with his stuff,
That's
and
fair.
then we get the iconic mask,
Yeah.
which pretty much stays with us in different forms and gets beat to hell,
Oh yeah,
literally beat to hell.
beat to hell, blows up so much. Yeah, we'll get
Yep.
there. But
Yep.
you do enjoy three though overall,
Yeah,
besides some of the annoying
yeah.
characters.
And you know what? It's a pivotal point in the franchise because you have that transformation to now this is our character, this is our main guy that we're going to follow through the rest of the series. Like he's got his look
He's
down.
got an identity now. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, because there's a little bit that goes on in the first and the second that you're not quite sure where it's going to land,
Hmm.
but now like in part 3 we have our guy.
Yeah.
Whereas with something like say Halloween or Nightmare on Elm Street,
Got that immediately.
we have our person and it carries us through the franchise. Not always the greatest because some of those Michael Myers masks are horrific,
Yeah,
but
we're not.
some of them are bad. But I think Freddy Krueger usually looks pretty good.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
pretty
Because
he's consistent.
England, is definitely somebody who's like, that's his baby. So like,
Yeah,
he's gonna
exactly.
he's gonna put a lot of effort into that. I'm sure even just to look good.
And
So
I think they do a great job with Jason, like as we go on, because as we move on, he gets more and more gnarly looking.
mhm.
And I think they do a really great job of aging him, the mask, the costume, the whole bit.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like 3 because I think it's pivotal to the franchise, because if you don't have those moments, you don't have Jason
Yeah.
as we
What
know him.
what did you think of the ending with that one? Do you remember that one?
The ending.
Pretty sure it's at the
Oh,
farmhouse.
yes, yes,
Like,
yes, yes, yes.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought. Well, I think now I'm gonna say Crystal Lake Memories.
Hmm.
This is a comprehensive documentary about the franchise. I was telling Nathan, I'll tell you guys, it's about 8 hours long. It's 2 discs, and they go into each. They go very in depth into each segment, each
Hmm.
movie.
Yeah.
And I believe what they said is that was where they were just going to call it. That was it.
Yeah.
That was supposed, and it could have, that could have been it. That could have been what, that's our movie. That's our trilogy. But no,
But then the final chapter came out, which is
the
number four,
final chapter, which
which
is never the final
which
chapter.
is, I mean, I think that also they probably thought the same thing, like you were
Yeah,
saying,
oh, yeah, yeah.
like this is it. So I mean, this has a young Corey Feldman in it, so this is the one,
Tommy.
yeah, with Tommy in it, which is it was like it eventually would lead to the fifth one, which we'll get to. But
Yes.
I really like this one a lot. I like the fact that like a kid was involved in it, like now, and like
Yeah.
it almost seemed like it was like okay, well, we've been to the camp 3 times. Now we're gonna go back to the camp, but also at the same time bring somebody who's like kids are like untouchable in terms of
Right.
you know for people like to get scared from. Like, I mean, obviously, you use kids all the time in different franchises, like Pet
Right.
Cemetery or something, where it's like
Right.
this is like you don't want to hurt them. But yeah, I was gonna say, but I mean, obviously, he's like a more mature kid, but also he's going through some sexual awakenings in this movie. 'Cause I
Yes.
remember him like spying on the
Yes.
neighbor and like just
Yes.
pounding the bed and like so getting so excited. And then going
Yeah.
to the lake and seeing all the people skinny dipping and so.
Well, because the people that rented the house across the way, they were partying.
Hmm.
And then you have this little family outing,
Hmm.
and he could see everything that's going on.
Yeah, and
Now,
apparently you get naked all the time.
well, you have to, because it's part of that's
Part of
how
the
horror movies go.
exactly.
That's a trope. It's a
You get
trope. And if
naked.
you,
I was gonna say we haven't spoken about the tropes, but what we've learned from the first 3 films is if you have sex or you do anything
yeah, don't
related
have
to that,
sex,
yep,
don't
go
be
ahead.
naked,
And
don't do drugs.
and also don't say like I'll see you, here in a
Yeah,
bit.
don't say I'll see you in a minute. I'll be right back.
Yeah, don't say that.
You never say I'll be right back, because
Yeah, I was gonna say the drug thing too is really funny because like people who are just like smoking all the time. I can't remember which one it was, but the one where they ate all the weed because they
yeah,
thought the
yeah,
cop was coming after them, and then I think it was
yes,
right around this time actually. It
yeah,
might
they
have
were
been
in the back of the van.
yeah, it might have been number 4 actually. Um,
Yes, the kids that were going to the house to
yeah,
party,
hmm,
and they ate all the weed.
yeah, and then they're like, ah, man, it was past us. So
Yeah,
I loved it. I loved 4. I thought it was great. So
and he's a smart kid too,
oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
because he definitely has an effect, and he knows how to. There's such a creep factor to him towards the end,
Oh yeah, because you're like, oh,
big,
something
because
happened here.
he's dialed in.
Hmm.
And I remember it. I think it was this. I think it was the fourth one. Going back to Crystal Lake Memories, one of the houses had to be built from scratch just for the movie.
Hmm.
So they had to like put this house together
So they can tear it apart.
so they could tear it apart. Yeah, so they
Right.
could ruin it. So they had to talk about a budget. I mean, they are like, well, we have like no budget, and we have to build a house now, so we
Yeah.
can just destroy it.
And I mean,
Yeah.
I love the climax because you were saying with Tommy, um, you know, there might be something more there for people who haven't seen it. So,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's
well,
talk about Tommy.
I was gonna say, speaking of Tommy, we're at 5 now.
Yes, we are.
He was all grown up and still haunted by what happened in 4. But oh
Yes.
my God, what a shift. In fact, I need to rewatch this with other people, I feel like, because
Okay.
this was definitely because I have several of my friends that have been on my channel before.
Mm-hmm.
They gave me a lot of shit for giving this a lower rating because they have a fond memory with this, but like this right here has the most annoying characters in all of the Friday the 13th franchise.
Let me see who. Let's see who.
So you
Who
got the
are?
kid who eats all the chocolate,
Oh yeah. Oh
which was
yes.
a gnarly scene, which we'll get,
Yeah.
But then you also have that wife, like, or that mom and that son who lived in, like, in the bayou. Like, it almost feels like
Yeah.
it's Louisiana, not New Jersey, but they live
Yeah.
in the backwoods and they're like, just a bunch of bumbling idiots. Like, I don't know, like, it just seemed like let's put a bunch of really stupid people, like all the
Yeah.
stupid people in one movie, and like
Yeah.
let's see what happens to them.
And let chase him run wild.
Yeah, which, to be fair, like I said, it seems like a lot of fun. I just need to redial how I'm feeling about it, like with other people, I feel like. But I don't know if you remember this one in particular.
Bits and pieces of it. I haven't watched that one in a while. I remember, like the thing that stands out the most to me is, of course, Tommy.
Yeah,
Always, and those two, and yes, they are, now that you're showing me the picture, they are extremely annoying.
yeah,
Very, very annoying.
yeah. Well, I mean, like I said, and this is the one where, um, like from 4, for a lot of people, you get a sense that Jason's gone, and
Yeah,
like in 5 you don't really know, and so,
yeah,
but I'll leave it at that. So like,
yeah,
you know, like who's doing all these killings? What is it? Who is it?
yeah. What the hell is going on?
Yeah. So yeah, 5 was an interesting point. I feel like that was like right the as they're dialing is like, okay, now we're just gonna get ridiculous. So, but we're like leading into like one of my favorites, which became like so much fun. Friday the 13th, Part 6, Jason Lives.
Jason Lives.
Oh my gosh, so much fun. This is like one of my favorites. I don't know about you, but like this was, like I said, like I watched this a couple years ago, actually during the pandemic. Randomly we did like a movie marathon and we just threw a bunch of things together, and one of my
Uh-huh.
friends wanted to watch this, and which is, and I'm like, I don't know anything about it. It's like, you don't really need to, like,
Yeah.
like, you know who Jason is and what he does. So,
Yeah.
but I don't know. I love the opening of this one in the graveyard. Like,
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Dig him up.
dig him up, lightning
Dig him up.
strikes,
Yep.
Frankenstein homage. I love it.
Well, yeah. Well, you know what it is? They had to find a way to bring him back.
Hmm.
Because that was the problem. Every time you think he's gone, they were saying, because again with the Crystal Lake memories, we had to keep coming up with these creative ways to bring him back, and they also had a problem with scheduling. Um, who's the what's the kid that plays Tommy?
Well,
Uh,
Tommy was changed by somebody else in this, if I remember
yes,
correctly. They like
yes, because
they switched him because they couldn't make it anymore. Like
right,
near the beginning of the film.
right, and then so the film before that they had issues, scheduling issues. That's why he wasn't in it as much as they wanted.
Hmm.
So then now we have this whole new direction that we're going in.
Yeah, which just felt like it's like, okay, this guy's unstoppable now, and that's what this feels like the whole time. It's like, yep, he you literally cannot do anything to stop Jason now. Like this is like he is a superhero slash villain now. Like he's got
Yeah,
insane strength, and
yeah.
it's also like one of the, like, I love before he puts the mask on. I love seeing that face.
Oh yeah,
Like, it's just grotesque. It's gnarly as hell, and it's just such a fun movie. I don't know. It's one of my favorites. So,
that one. Okay, that one's one of your favorites.
hmm Yeah.
Is it because of the well, I know you mentioned the opening scene and the throwback to Frankenstein, and so that kind of attaches it kind of to the Universal monsters and the classic,
Yeah, and also I
like the
know that
classic.
I was gonna say I know Tom McLaughlin, who directed this one in particular. He actually put a lot of like little things in the movie to
Hmm.
I think he did something with Bram Stoker, like Dracula's, or like I think he's either Bram Stoker or like I think it was maybe Karloff or something. Yeah, Boris Karloff. They like had theater, Karloff's theater or something, or like there's just little nods here and there of everything, and it's that plus it's also like I feel like they dialed in on the camp perfectly in this movie. Like
Okay.
they just nailed it because they're like, okay, we know we're 6 movies in, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what else are we gonna do? Like, we're just gonna amp
Right.
this up to 11, and you know, do all these crazy, crazy things, and and weirdly enough, like the people in the film, like I don't know, like it just seems like it fits perfectly to get after all these people, and I don't know, like it just clicked with me, and it's weird that I saw this one before I saw like all the other films, particularly. I mean, I saw 1 and 2 before, a long time ago.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I don't know.
It
It
does
clicked.
have a New Orleans feel to it, especially like when you're seeing like the iron. I know at the beginning when you're seeing like the
Yeah,
shot into the
graveyard.
graveyard and you have the iron fence,
Hmm.
like the old school iron fence. That would be something you would see. It reminds me of Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil.
Yeah, with Kevin, the guy who can't talk about. Yeah.
Yeah, the guy who shall not be mentioned. But
Mhm.
when they had the lady who was the what was she, the fortune, not the fortune teller, she was kind of like a witch or something,
Hmm.
and she would be in the graveyard. It kind
Yeah.
of reminds me of that. So it's a different, but that was also by that time, I mean, I think they only shot the first movie in New Jersey and then they moved it to California because what they were saying is that they were having a lot of trouble with the temperature. There were times in these part like this middle chunk of the franchise when they would do take after take after take after take in the water
It was so cold in the
and it
water.
was 28 degrees.
Yeah.
And they were doing take after take, and the one girl was it's
The one
there's a scene
where she's like
with when
naked
she's
completely. Yeah.
well she's hanging over the yellow like the little like rubber raft type of
Hmm.
yellow, like a boat, little blow up boat.
Yeah.
And the way they did the stunt was that her body was actually straight down and they had another prosthetic body laying, like, so it was like she was laying in the boat. So half of her body was in 28-degree water for like 5 hours. And they're like, the director was like, let's keep going. And the guy whoever was playing Jason in that particular one was like, no. He's like, she's gonna get hypothermia. And if you don't do it, I'm quitting. He was gonna walk off. He's like, I'm done. You're not gonna have a movie. But that's all in that Crystal Lake Memories. You have to see it. It's crazy. Like they pushed themselves to the limit, to the
Hmm.
brink to get each shot the way they wanted it. And it doesn't seem like it when you're watching it because it seems like these ultra
Just
low
fast,
budget
and it's fast
movies.
paced ish.
Yeah. And you don't
So
realize they really did do a lot. And like you said, one of its, I think, for lack of a better word, one of its charms through the franchise is the practical effects
absolutely. Yeah.
because that really takes so much more work, but that's what gives it the feeling. That's what gives it that feeling of like, wow, this could really happen, couldn't it? Like you're legit scared
Yeah. And that might be
because
why
it,
like number 2 works so well. It's because like you could
yeah,
see somebody doing this.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I forget which scene that boat scene's in, but that was bad.
Yeah. No, I definitely was gonna say I know that the water was incredibly cold, and a lot of people, like you were saying, like, and I had mentioned, I remember seeing a special feature where one of the girls in one of these earlier ones, the middle part ones, was like completely naked and like was just
Mm-hmm.
like in water, like taking takes and takes and takes, and I'm
Yep.
like good God, like no, like even with clothes, like it would probably be bad, but without, it's got to be much worse,
Yeah, and people
honestly.
don't realize how long these days go for them,
Right.
and it's a lot.
Yeah.
So,
We
and
want to get to the wild ones now.
oh,
Here
the
we go.
mess,
The mess. So the
the
first one
mess.
is Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New
Yep.
Blood, which is the one where you finally have psychic powers.
Yes, we can psychically bring him back because we need a new way to bring him back.
Yeah, where we kind of follow, like Tina Shepard is her name, who can see the future and levitate objects.
Yes.
And her telekinesis, accidentally unchains Jason, who was at the bottom of the lake, and
Yes.
gets him freed. And so his terror is once again unleashed, mainly because they're like, you know what, we like to carry, so let's let's work on
Yeah.
our
Let's
carry
bring
impersonation.
Tina.
Yep, exactly.
And they had Tina. They brought Tina from the special hospital. She was staying in the cabin with her
Hmm.
doctor and her mother
Yep.
to try to work on her issues because they felt like she wasn't getting better in the hospital. And then what does she do? She resurrects Jason, and she's having the she's trying to the people at the kids partying at there's always kids partying at the adjacent house,
Yeah,
and
always.
they bring Tina into the fold, and yeah, she good thing she's there because she can use her carry powers to help them out a bit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and you get a nice fish like Jason, who's definitely like water. Like,
Oof, waterlogged.
yeah, I was gonna. He's all gross,
Worms.
and yeah, he's definitely starting to
Nasty.
fall apart. This is like when he's really starting to fall apart. It's like it's
Yeah.
the start of this is where it's starting to happen. So,
Yeah.
did you like this one, or is it kind of just eh?
I like Jason. Well, if I heard someone yell Tina one more time, I was just going to watch it on mute. But it's got Kane Hodder, the best Jason ever. The best Jason in the worst episodes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I mean, I liked it for that reason because I just think he has such a powerful presence. And I wish they had him in the earlier movies
Mm-hmm.
because he's Jason. The way he walks, the way he breathes, the way he just stands there and he hovers, and
Yep. The way he looks, like
the way he looks, he just
just like the
the way he carries himself.
yeah.
It's just, and he's not a big guy. Like when
No,
you meet him in person, he's not a
it's
big
probably
guy.
like
He's
what, like 6'2" or something.
no, no, he's not that tall.
Then he's not. He's tall. He's young. He's shorter than me.
Yeah, he's shorter than you.
Oh shoot.
And he's lean. Like
Yeah,
he's not he's not like this huge monster, but he just makes himself look like a big
much
presence.
bigger. Yeah.
And he knows how to like his breathing patterns. Like he did that intentionally because it made the character more menacing. And as much as I'm not a fan of the later iterations in this, I really do appreciate all the hard work that he put into that character. He was so committed.
Yeah. I mean, he is
And
the face. I mean, the person people think about, when we're thinking about Jason, is they think of Kane.
yeah, exactly. And there's a reason.
Yeah. I was gonna say, speaking of him, we're finally going to Manhattan.
Oh boy, yeah.
There-
We're going on a what was it, a graduation boat, or yeah, it was not a
It was on
prom
a
boat. It was
it
a
was on a boat.
graduation
Most of like
graduation boat.
yeah, like 60 to 70% of the movie, he's not even in Manhattan. He's
Yeah.
he's on a boat.
Yeah.
To Manhattan, I guess. I guess they shot this in Vancouver, I think.
Yeah.
And so this one was a really interesting one. I really liked the locales, but I really, going into this one, I really did think we were going to see more of Manhattan.
Yeah.
So I was a little bit bummed that we were mostly on the boat. But yeah, this one, other than like besides that, like obviously the location, I think is the biggest like thing that a lot of people think about. There's a pretty
Yeah.
interesting like kills in this one, of course, as well. But besides that, it's kind of one of the like we were saying is
The
one of the
weaker ones.
it's one of the weakest. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and
But
I think the one before that we were just talking about has one of my favorite kills with the sleeping bag kill.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's he is known for the sleeping bag kill. He loved
Same.
that one too.
Yeah, that's a fun It's a
So
fun
keep
one.
your eyes out for the sleeping bag kill. But yeah, I thought the whole boat thing was just like, come on, let's go. Let's get off the boat and like run through Manhattan.
We stayed too long in the boat.
We
So
did. Kind of they should have taken too bad well, at least Scream 6 or 7, whatever we're on 6. At least they actually went to Manhattan.
yeah, they actually physically went to Manhattan, uh,
Yeah.
which is almost like hell, right?
Oh God. Yeah.
Which is the final Friday. This
Again.
this is one where I think it's like similar to like the concept of the psychological thing, but like instead there's this hellish worm that
Yeah.
goes into different people's bodies, and like
Yeah.
I never understood this one.
No.
Um,
I
so
don't
yeah,
get it.
there's this one. So anyone who wants to watch it can.
If you want to watch him go to hell, go to hell. And if
Yeah.
you don't want to see him in hell, you can see him in space
In space, because here we are at Jason X,
where he has
is a,
been frozen.
which is a lot more fun than this last one.
Oh yeah.
I gotta admit. I mean, this
Yeah.
is definitely like where else do we go with Jason?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, no. Besides that, like I know we mentioned practical effects, but special effects really picked up around this time. Which
Yeah.
if you watch it now, you're like, oh god,
Yeah.
it's
For
definitely something. Because this is like what, like what's the year? 20,455.
2001.
No, 2,455.
Oh, when, well, yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
right. 2002, 2001 at that time.
yeah. Yeah, he was
But
cryogenically frozen in the beginning of the 21st century and is discovered in the 25th century.
yeah, I was like, what the heck? So it's a fun one, but it's definitely I mean, at least you get this Jason version that's like one of the most menacing. Like he looks freaking pure evil. When he's like in his like I guess metal suit of sorts.
Well, I know that is a big draw at the conventions. If Kane dresses up in this Jason X
Hmm.
for the photo ops, everybody wants Jason X.
Yeah, because it's so unique.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and you see him go walking by in that outfit. It's like insane.
yeah, I'd be terrified.
Yeah,
That,
yeah. Seeing him in anything is terrifying. I mean, just he's got it down. He knows how to
hmm.
bring that aura.
Well, I like the way that this. Well, I was going to say I don't think we mentioned it before, but like before Jason X in Jason Goes to Hell, we forgot to mention the ending a little bit, because it would come back to haunt us later on in another movie, which was the one that would be like the next in like the franchise. And I'm putting air quotes here
Mm-hmm.
because you have Freddy versus Jason,
Yep.
which we were spotlighted earlier, but
Mm-hmm.
I actually really I think this is a fun movie. It
I
reminds me
like that movie.
it reminds me of the early 2000s and of like the music of that time period and like the types of
Yep.
movies that were coming out. It's very much of its time, and
Yep.
it's a lot of fun too, seeing two crazy giants coming at each other.
Yeah, and I forgot about the foreshadowing. But yes, there's a foreshadow and then it comes back and yeah, I liked Freddy versus Jason way more than I expected to. Probably
Yeah,
more than I should.
yeah, it's definitely like if you have a guilty pleasure in this latter half, it's this.
It's that. Yeah,
It's
that's the
this.
go-to.
Yeah, this
And
one is a lot of fun.
the only thing that bums me out about that is they really screwed Kane on that one
Yeah, I wish it
because
was him too. And
well he kind of was pitched the idea that he was going to be Jason and he was like, yeah, let's do it. Like he was all gung ho and then when they told him he wasn't going to be Jason, he was really broken up about that because he was part of the like
continuation of because it
well
was falling apart at that time because a lot of people were kind of
yeah.
losing faith of the franchise. So he
And
was,
he was part of the like think tank on that.
yep,
Like he was part of the group of like, let's go in this direction. We can do this. And then he found out like at the last minute that he was sidelined. Really. And I know that was a big blow to him. Like he had a hard time with that. And I would too. I mean, and I think he earned that spot and he earned that opportunity to bring that to the franchise.
yeah.
Because I think the movie would have benefited from it
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
because you have the
because you
two
have
most
Robert
iconic.
Englund, who is still
Yeah.
obviously it's
Yes.
his character, and he owned that character through and through.
Yeah. And you
So,
have him meeting up with, Kane as Jason.
hmm
It's epic. And the fans would have loved it.
but
I
then
think
he,
the fans, I think it would have been, because it only gets like on IMDb, I think it gets a 5.7.
yeah, usually
And
around
personally,
6.
I do think it's better than that.
Yeah, it's like a 6.5, maybe.
Yeah, I think it's good, but I think that it probably would have been like a fan favorite had it been those two guys,
Oh, for sure.
the Jason and Freddie. I think it would have done a lot for the franchise
Yeah, me too.
to see that meetup. And I think that was the whole plan. I think that was everybody's plan. And then they just kiboshed it, which was really unfortunate. But it's still, like you said, it's still a guilty pleasure and it's still a good movie.
Yeah,
It's just, that's a bummer because I would have liked to have seen that. I would have liked to have seen them together on the screen,
yeah, me too. That would have
you
been good.
know, two really great horror icons.
So this leads us to the final one, which came out almost, I mean, quite a bit ago, like almost 15 years ago now, which is wild. But
Ooh.
Friday the 13th, 2009.
Why?
Yeah, it's a weird one.
Why?
It definitely feels very off.
Yeah, the pacing is off.
The vibe
The
is off.
the vibe is off. I mean, it's kind of like it falls into every trope of rich kids borrow the parents' house for the weekend and what horrible things can happen.
Yeah, it's almost like they were trying to do like a Texas Chainsaw Massacre mixed with like Halloween, kind of like like I like kind of some like how some of the new Halloween movies are. A little bit
Yeah.
too dark, and I don't mean that like obviously these movies can be dark and that's totally fine, but like it just didn't make sense to me. I I enjoyed it okay. It's like I'm not saying I hate it, but I think it's okay.
It
Uh,
didn't have much it didn't have the character
no,
and it didn't have the appeal that the originals had, but I don't know that many of the later ones do.
sure,
But I guess my question is, did we need it? No.
yeah,
I don't think we needed it. I don't like not my favorite Jason. I don't buy it. Like it could be just someone dressed up as Jason. That
yeah,
would have actually been better, making it a copycat.
yeah. I think so
You
too.
know, it would have been more original if you had somebody that like was like an obsessed fan of the serial killer.
Would have been before Scream did it.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. And that to me would have made it at least maybe given it a reason to exist
Sure, yeah.
because it didn't draw me in at all like the others. So I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I would say the same thing. I think it's definitely different, and I think the reimagining is not. It doesn't hit the mark. I mean, I mean, I know some of these actors who were in the movie because I've seen them in other things. Like obviously Jared Padalecki was in Supernatural, who was really,
Right.
and a lot of people know him. Um, and Danielle Panabaker is also really big. But
Right.
I mean, I was going to say like the rest of it though, like it's kind of, it didn't, the vibe was off. As we're kind of closing this, I was going to say, did you want to like, wrap up kind of like the whole like, franchise as a thing and kind of what it means to you and what it's done for you and your life.
Ugh. Well, I definitely haven't thrown anyone against a tree while they're in a sleeping bag.
What?
So that I guess that's a good thing. I've
That's
learned how
also in
not to,
this. That's also in
I
this movie, I think. But
I've learned how not to play with knives. But I feel like this was a franchise that I grew up with. Because I was in high school, just starting high school when I started watching these, and I'm still watching them today. And out of I'd say the big three, which they say Halloween, Nightmare, and Friday the 13th. I think Friday the 13th is my favorite. I think they all have some great ones and they all have some bad ones, but I think that even the bad ones in this one, with a few exceptions, still have something to offer.
Hmm.
Where like some of the bad ones in like Halloween are just like we talked about The Mask. It's unwatchable. That or like they'll have an actor who's teeny tiny Michael,
Hmm.
like no shoulders, no menacing nothing, and this
Yeah.
little itty bitty mask. And but like Jason is always terrifying. Even however many creative ways they find to bring him back from the dead. He's gross, he's ooey, he's gooey, he's got worms, he's got seaweed all over him, he's a mess.
He's got a
And
metal mask.
yeah, metal mask. I mean, he's been frozen for how many years? But like I just feel like it just I don't know, it's one that I always find myself going back to. And mostly the earlier ones, like I'd say like 6 and before.
Yeah.
So it's I like the first few I will put in any time. But if I'm going to take it further, I usually end up landing around 6.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. And I mean, I'm excited to, kind of revisit these, in the future, because obviously I had watched all these mostly for the first time. I kind of lied. I think because I have seen Freddy vs. Jason when it first came out. I remember watching that,
Right.
but also
Right.
not really knowing too much, but like obviously knowing like, okay, Freddy, nightmares, can
Yeah.
go into that thing. And then also like Jason is just like a guy who just kills a bunch of kids, who have sex all the time. And so,
Yeah.
it's not rocket science for people, like,
No.
for anyone who hasn't taken this plunge. I feel like I'm one of the last people on earth who have done this, into Crystal Lake. I think,
Yeah.
it's a fun endeavor, and I definitely recommend watching it with other people, who, maybe even if it is something that they have seen before, hopefully they don't just like get rowdy. Like, I mean, obviously these are movies you can get rowdy with and like not pay too close attention to too many things. I feel like you could
Yeah.
clearly put this on in the background and everyone will just have a good time. But
Oh yeah.
I don't know, like it was a fun journey this summer doing this. So
Yeah. And I think that it's funny because it's interesting to me because as you're moving more into your horror journey, I feel like mine is changing. And I feel like my tolerance for certain things is changing. Like for example, I know Terrifier is huge in the horror community. And I think the actor who plays Art the Clown does a great job. If I never watched the first not um I forget what the name of the shorter one, All Hallows Eve. I Not that one, just the first Terrifier. If
mhm.
I never see that again, it'll be too soon. I can't handle it. It's just too much. So
It's just
I
too
feel
gory.
like yeah, and just for the sake of gore. Like it's just gross for the sake of being gross. Like there wasn't an engaging story there where I feel like not that these Friday films or Halloween or not that they're so highbrow, but there's something about it that draws me in every time. Whether it's like Haddonfield is a setting. I love the setting of Haddonfield in Halloween.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know, Nightmare on Elm Street, like you have Freddy and his whole world. And, Jason, you have his whole world. And, I didn't like when they moved away from the camp because I feel like he belongs in the camp. Like the camp is his and he doesn't want anyone else there. That's the whole point of the camp.
Right. I mean,
But
the whole point of him being there is,
is that it's his.
what happened to him.
Right. And he doesn't want anyone else there. But I feel like that is a place that any one of those I can be comfortable in. And they will always be in my wheelhouse of horror films that I go back to. But it's, the Friday franchise was like, that was the first one I really hooked onto. I love Halloween. I love Nightmare on Elm Street, but I just like, I have very vivid memories of seeing Friday in the theater. Something about it just got me. And even though Halloween came first,
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, no,
Halloween was 78.
I'm envious of the first time watch when that first came out, and how much it meant to you. I mean, it seems like it made a huge impact on your love of horror, and
Yep.
love of this franchise. So that's why I picked, I wanted to talk to you about it because like, I am like, well, I'm going to dive into this box set. Who else would I talk to
Yeah.
about it, than, the one who like has loved this franchise ever since they were a kid. So,
Yeah. It's so good. And it's just like I said, I really feel like even the first one and 1980 probably feels a lot further away to you than it does to me.
just
To me, I'm
negative,
like somebody
negative
will
like a
say,
decade.
yeah, somebody will say like, "Oh, 1980." And I'm like, "Oh, that was last year." It feels like it was last year to me, but a long, long time ago. And when you think about how old these movies are, it still holds up
Yeah.
every single time. I'm like, it just holds up. It just ages like fine wine. It just ages well. So
Unlike
I give
Jason,
them all.
who doesn't
Unlike
age very
Jason,
well.
Jason did not age well.
No, he crumbled a little bit.
Yeah, yeah, little worm.
Yeah. Well, do you have any final kind of thoughts for everybody watching this, or before we get out of here?
If you haven't seen it, watch it. I highly, like I said, I highly recommend Crystal Lake Memories. You can go slow with it. You can watch an episode a night, and you will learn so much. If you're interested in movies, or obviously, if you're watching Nathan's channel, you're interested in movies. If you want to hear more from the people who made them, what they went through, how they do things, how they make it work, how they scare the life out of you sometimes. This is a wonderful documentary. I can't give it a high enough praise. So definitely check that out. And also another one, I didn't bring it up with me. I should have, but Kane Hodder's documentary, to Hell and Back, it's called. And it
Okay.
is his personal journey, just his life. It's, you get to the Friday the 13th, but like it's his life and from when he was a child. And it's an amazing, moving, wonderful documentary. So to Hell and Back, it's highest recommendation for that one.
Yeah, go to
But
hell and back,
like take it
everyone.
all in. Go to Hell and Back
And you should
and
go to
stop
hell
in
and back.
Manhattan
And why might as well stop Manhattan on our way to Crystal Lake.
and to NASA.
And yeah, I was gonna say into space. We're
Yeah,
gonna
and
go everywhere. And you know, all the other places.
if you want to spend a lot of money, come to Jersey and take a tour of the lake. And they actually have a diner too. There's a diner nearby where in one of the movies, I guess they stopped at a diner.
Hmm.
Somebody stopped in a diner, and you can go in the diner and eat. It's a fully functioning diner, and they sell all the
Merch and
apparel
stuff.
and
Yeah,
merch. Yeah, so it's fun. It's a
yeah.
little day trip.
Yeah, well, sounds like fun, and I hope
Yep,
people can pick up those titles like you mentioned. And I'm excited because I need to start watching those now too. But I mean, it was all because of this set, and then the set you have there. All these
yep,
movies have a really special place, and I hope people can check these movies out. And like I said, I might have been the last one to do this, but I appreciate everyone watching this, and I
yep.
hope you enjoyed my journey, and then also talking with my resident, Camp Crystal Lake.
I'm watching the camp from here.
Yep. I wanted to have Steph on, so I want to say thanks, Steph, for joining on. And everyone, go follow Movie Chatter. Where people find you down in the description, right?
Sure, why not? I'll hang
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. So find Steph's channel there, and I just want to say thanks to everyone for watching this. I hope you all had a good time. It's in the middle of summer, so might as well talk about Friday the 13th. And yeah, hit the like button, share, hit the notification bell, subscribe, all that stuff. And I'm not jonesing around.